Welcome to the Jasmine Podcast.
Imagine logging into work on a Monday morning, right? And finding out a piece of software just finished your entire week's worth of technical tasks in like 14 seconds.
Oh, wow. Yeah. That is pretty much everyone's nightmare right now.
Totally. It wrote the complex code, it crunched the quarterly data, drafted the legal contracts, it even perfectly formatted the slide deck for your afternoon meeting.
Right.
So if a machine can do all that heavy lifting flawlessly and almost instantly, why is the company still paying you?
Well, it's the ultimate modern anxiety, isn't it? But, the answer to that question reveals this massive shift in how we define professional value.
Yeah, and that is exactly what we're getting into today.
Exactly. We're looking at a professional development guide for today's deep dive. And it focuses on navigating this exact reality. We're at a tipping point where automation has officially taken over the technical grunt-work.
Right.
And the core argument is super fascinating. Basically, the skills we used to dismiss as, soft have actually become the new hard skills.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because our mission today is to figure out exactly why emotional intelligence has become your ultimate career insurance.
Yes, career insurance. I like that.
And since we know a lot of you listening are adult professionals who are actively learning business English, we are tailoring this deep dive specifically for you.
We definitely are.
We are going to keep the pace deliberate. We'll explain things clearly without relying on, a bunch of confusing corporate jargon.
Right. Nobody likes that anyway.
Exactly. So we want to explore the big ideas, sure, but also give you the actual language tools you need to thrive in this new landscape.
And honestly, the landscape itself is the best place to start.
Let's do it.
So the year is 2026, and the irony of this automation tipping point is just striking. I mean, for decades, the career playbook was basically an engineering formula.
Yeah, you memorize the formulas, learn the software, get the certificates.
Exactly, and that guaranteed your spot in the company hierarchy. Those were the hard skills. They were highly respected because they were objective. You could measure them.
Right. You either knew the code or you didn't.
Exactly. And the soft skills like communication, empathy, relationship building, those were often treated as just optional bonuses.
Yeah, they were nice to have, but definitely not essential. I mean, you didn't need to be a great listener if you were the only engineer in the building who knew how to fix the server.
Right. But now, that entire hierarchy is flipped upside down.
Because the AI can fix the server.
Exactly. It can handle the massive data processing. So the human skills that seemed, less rigorous than math or science, they've suddenly become the absolute hardest things for a company to find.
And the most valuable traits you can have.
Yep. Because the fundamental difference between an automated system and a human comes down to one concept: risk.
Risk. Okay, say more about that.
Well, a robot can give you a highly accurate answer based on historical data, right? It can generate a dozen financial models in seconds, but a robot cannot give you assurance.
Oh, assurance, right?
Yeah. AI gives endless raw data, but it completely lacks empathy. And in business, empathy is the actual mechanism that allows humans to take action.
Okay, the guide uses an analogy here that I think is super helpful, but I kind of want to push back on it a little.
Oh, go for it.
So it says that technical abilities, your hard skills, are like the entry ticket to a stadium. They just get you inside the building.
Yeah.
But the soft skills are what make you the MVP, the most valuable player.
Right, the MVP analogy.
But if hard skills are the ticket, well, AI is basically printing those tickets for free now.
That is a great point.
Right. Anyone has access to decent coding or flawless grammar just by typing a prompt. So if the machine is doing all the flawless data crunching, where does the human value actually sit day to day? If the math is perfect, why do we need human assurance?
Because corporate decisions inherently involve the unknown.
Okay.
Think about it. When a leadership team decides to launch a radical new product or change their entire global strategy, they are taking a massive leap into the future.
Right. The data only shows the past.
Exactly. Or it shows what a statistical model predicts under perfect conditions. But human beings are the ones who actually have to take the leap. Their careers and livelihoods are on the line.
I see.
So empathy is the core mechanism that allows humans to trust that data and move forward together, even when they're terrified of failing.
Yeah, the team needs a person to look across the table and say, look, I know this is a risky move, but we have a solid plan, and I have your back if things go wrong.
Precisely. A machine can calculate the statistical risk, but it cannot shoulder the emotional weight of it.
Wow. Okay, so that is the MVP. It's not the person who simply brings the spreadsheet to the meeting. It's the person who uses the spreadsheet to build consensus, right? To ease the anxiety.
Yeah, to generate momentum.
So if providing human assurance is our core value now, the real challenge is how we actually do that in a modern workplace.
Right, especially since we aren't all sitting in the same physical office anymore. Work is remote, it's global, scattered across dozens of different cultures.
Which brings us to a critical concept for the listener. Cultural intelligence, or CQ.
Yes, CQ is huge. Having a high IQ or just speaking good business English isn't enough when you're interacting through screens.
Right.
You really have to understand the cultural operating system of the person on the other end.
Because, you might be speaking perfect English, but if you send a really direct, logic-focused email to a colleague, how they receive it depends entirely on their culture.
Definitely. Give me an example.
Well, like in a German corporate environment, that directness is usually seen as a sign of respect. You're respecting their time. It's efficient.
Right.
But in other cultures, that exact same English email might be seen as aggressive or rude.
Exactly. Or, consider a Japanese business meeting. The actual decision might not even be spoken aloud during the formal presentation.
Oh, right. Group harmony and hierarchy.
Yes. There's a deep cultural focus on that. You literally have to read the room. And this is where the first major language tool comes in for our listeners. To navigate this, you need the ability to read between the lines.
Read between the lines. So for those learning English, reading between the lines means understanding the hidden message, the stuff that isn't openly said.
Exactly. It's looking beyond the literal translation of the words to find the real intent.
Like in a cross-cultural negotiation, a client might keep asking very tiny, highly specific questions about, the margins of a contract.
Right. And if you only look at the literal words, you'd think they just really care about formatting.
But if you read between the lines, you realize they are doing this because they're terrified of the risk. They don't care about the tiny details. They're stalling.
They lack assurance. And once you read between the lines and spot that fear, you can stop arguing about formatting and start providing the human reassurance they actually need.
That makes total sense. And this ability to see what isn't being said is just as important when things go wrong internally, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Because the guide points out that AI is fantastic at finding a logical solution to a workflow problem, but it is entirely useless at healing a broken relationship between teammates.
Exactly. AI doesn't do feelings. So let's say two senior engineers, Bob and Sarah, are completely deadlocked over a new app design.
Okay.
The argument is super heated. Theoretically, you could feed their arguments into an AI, and the AI might objectively declare that Sarah's method is 15% more efficient.
Right. And logically, that should be the end of the meeting. The optimal path is found. But wait, isn't a logical solution exactly what you want when two teammates are fighting over a problem?
You'd think so, right? But human beings are not perfectly rational algorithms. If the AI just declares Sarah the winner, sure, the technical error is solved. But the human friction is arguably much worse now.
Oh, because Bob's professional pride is bruised.
Exactly. He's embarrassed in front of his peers. He's probably going to resent Sarah as they try to work together.
Right.
The logical solution fixes the code, but fixing the working relationship requires a human touch. Someone has to sit down with Bob, validate his hard work, and rebuild his confidence. AI completely lacks the ability to sense a bruised ego.
That is so true. And navigating that kind of explosive aftermath requires our next critical vocabulary tool, a level-headed approach.
Yes, a level-headed approach.
When conflict erupts or a major crisis hits, like a huge budget cut, panic is highly contagious. So a level-headed approach means remaining calm, objective, and sensible when everyone else is freaking out.
Right. In a crisis, the person who doesn't panic becomes the anchor for the whole team.
And sure, an AI doesn't panic. But a human who consciously chooses to remain level-headed under pressure, that provides incredible leadership.
It signals to the team that the situation is manageable and that stabilization is required for the next major skill, which is to foster collaboration.
Foster collaboration, so actively encouraging people to work together.
Yeah, it's an intentional process. It's not just setting up a shared digital workspace and hoping they talk. It means noticing when two departments are isolated and actively building a bridge between them.
Like realizing marketing and product development aren't sharing feedback, so you step in to fix it.
Exactly. Which naturally leads to our fourth power phrase, interpersonal savvy.
Interpersonal savvy. That's the ability to relate well to all kinds of people, right? Executives, entry-level, difficult clients.
Yeah, it's knowing how to build effective relationships across the board.
You know, it sounds like interpersonal savvy is about treating workplace interactions less like a vending machine transaction and more like tending a garden.
Oh, I love that. A vending machine versus a garden.
Yeah. Like a vending machine is purely mechanical. You put a request in, press a button, and expect a product to drop out. I need this data right now. No relationship, no context.
Right, it's just extraction. But tending a garden, that means you're investing time and attention long before you need anything.
Exactly. You're learning their communication styles, understanding their pressures, building trust.
So that when a storm hits, like a layoff or a project failure, the root system is deep enough to keep the team together. A vending machine does not require empathy. A garden absolutely does.
And these phrases, reading between the lines, taking a level-headed approach, fostering collaboration, and interpersonal savvy, they aren't just vocabulary words.
No, they are strategic tools. When you use these concepts in a meeting, you are signaling to your leadership team that you have high emotional intelligence.
You're proving you are the MVP.
Exactly.
Okay, so we know the landscape, we know human assurance is the core value, and we have the vocabulary to signal our EQ. But just knowing the words doesn't change your daily habits.
No, it doesn't. You have to actually execute these skills. And the guide we're looking at has this great reflection from a professional named Jasmine.
What does she say?
She says, don't just be a doer, be a connector.
Wow. Don't just be a doer, be a connector.
Right. Because for the last century, the goal was to be the ultimate doer. Produce the most, write the most code, process the most files.
But AI is the ultimate doer now? It will outprocess us every time.
Yeah, without a coffee break. So our job is shifting from isolated production toward connection. We have to pay attention to the emotional temperature of the room, not just the agenda.
And to help make that shift, the source material gives us a weekly challenge, practiced active listening. But it gives a very specific conversational tactic.
Which is so needed because most of us are terrible listeners.
Oh, totally. When someone else is speaking, our brains are usually just racing ahead to formulate our own argument.
Right, we're just waiting for them to take a breath so we can sound smart.
Exactly. But this challenge disrupts that. You have to summarize the other person's point before you are allowed to make your own argument.
And the guide gives a very precise phrase for this. So if I understand you correctly, you're saying.
Here's where it gets really interesting for me. Using that phrase, so if I understand you correctly, you're saying, it forces you to hit the pause button on your own ego.
Oh, completely.
You literally cannot formulate your own argument if you are actively summarizing theirs. You have to put your agenda aside.
It takes intense discipline. It's really hard to do when you're heated, but the payoff is huge. This phrase is the ultimate proof of reading between the lines and fostering collaboration.
Because it proves to the speaker that they are truly being heard.
Yes. You are offering them the experience of being genuinely understood. Think about how you feel when someone perfectly summarizes your frustration.
Oh, your defensive walls just drop immediately.
Exactly. The tension leaves. You stop seeing them as a competitor trying to win an argument, and you start seeing them as a collaborator.
You're providing the psychological safety that a machine can't simulate. AI can transcribe a meeting word for word, but it cannot make a human feel validated.
And validation is the foundation of trust. That is how you become an irreplaceable connector instead of just a replaceable doer.
Okay, let's take a quick moment to pull all these threads together for you listening. We started with the 2026 tipping point, where AI takes the hard skills.
Right, making emotional intelligence your ultimate career insurance.
We talked about cultural intelligence in a global office, why we need to read between the lines, stay level-headed, foster collaboration, and use interpersonal savvy.
The garden approach, not the vending machine.
Exactly. And finally, the active listening challenge, hitting pause on your ego to summarize a colleague's point.
Which leaves us with a really fascinating thought to kind of mull over as we close.
Oh, let's hear it.
If technical tasks are completely handled by AI and our sole value is in our empathy and connection, does that mean the corporate office of the future will look less like a factory of doers and more like a community of diplomats?
A community of diplomats, wow.
Right. And if so, how will that fundamentally change the way we measure a productive day?
That is a massive paradigm shift, measuring our days not by data processed, but by trust built. Well, thank you for joining us for this deep dive.
Yes, thank you for listening.
We hope you feel equipped with these new concepts and the English vocabulary to implement them. Until next time, we encourage you to pause, listen, and take a level-headed approach into your next conversation.